Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The Rundown presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. And in this edition, Rapids, they draw against LAFC, but they miss out on the playoffs. Rapids, too, move on in the playoffs. And then we're going to look back at what was the 2025 season. Let's get into it. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Colorado Rapids podcast. In this week's edition of The Rundown presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm your host, Michael Rowland, alongside my good friend and resident Rapids legend, Drew Moore. Drew B, how we doing on this incredibly windy Monday morning?
Man, I have no Halloween decorations left in my yard. They're gone. Probably somewhere in Kansas. But
Not in Colorado anymore.
the sun is shining. They're definitely not. The sun is shining. A little disappointed this morning with what happened Saturday night. Excited with what happened Sunday afternoon with Rapids 2. So a little bit mixed feelings, mixed emotions. I really dislike the off season. And it's going to be a little bit of a longer off season than any of us want it to be, So, but there's, that happens in sports, and I am looking forward to the week with Rapids 2, who obviously won their playoff match, and I know we're going to get into that. So yeah, a little bit mixed emotions for me. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
Like I think we were talking off air a little bit earlier. I would hate to be on a flight on such a windy day. I am the type. I'm very much the type where, with even a little bit of turbulence, I was going to say something profane, but I can't go that route. But I would not be in a good spot. I'll say that.
We could be on a perfectly smooth flight, and you're losing your mind back. I can hear you.
No,
screaming
that's
back
exaggerating.
There.
That is
not.
exaggerating.
I hear the screams from the back of the plane, okay? And I know it's you.
It's funny. There's one former staff member that we had here. I remember there was a turbulent flight that we had, and I was sitting there. I was like gripping the armrest.
Yeah.
I'm like freaking out while he's pulling out his phone and taking pictures and like recording me freaking out on the flight when it was turbulent. To be fair, it was pretty turbulent that flight. But yeah, it's incredibly windy.
It is. Yeah.
We're straight out of left field that one. We had in the middle of everything this weekend, Drew. That we also had Burgundy Affair last night. We were able to go. I was there covering.
Yeah.
Burgundy Affair on the video side of things. You were there.
I was just
you cleaned up
attending
nicely, dude.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Cleaned
Thank
up
you.
very
You do
nicely.
as well.
You and your missus Shelby. You guys were looking fantastic together.
Thank you.
It was a fun night, of course. Everything, of course, to support KSC charities, all the money that goes in to be able to support that, which is fantastic. So thank you to everybody that attended and contributed to that. It was awesome.
It was.
Like the Burgundy Affair is something I think very much to look forward to, between all the money that goes towards KSC charities and just getting to see everybody, all in one space and just kind of mingle, hang out.
Yep.
It's a fun night. It was a fun night to be able to see everybody.
Yep.
A good night overall at Burgundy Affair.
We had fun. My wife was really looking forward to it because it's, we have to get a babysitter and stuff. So we treat it as a bit of a date night, and we get to dress up and everything, which she loves to do, and she always looks beautiful doing it. But I also didn't have to host this year. I was just attending, so we actually got to like spend time together, the whole time together there at Burgundy Affair, which was a lot of fun, and yeah, as it usually is, it's fun to see people that we do see every single day, but also some of the main sponsors and all that. We had a blast, and we'll look forward to the next one as well.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it was a fun night overall. But we're gonna get into the business side of things here.
Yep.
Druby.
Yep.
So let's look to Saturday. We said we're gonna go through Saturday with the first team, Rapids 2. You were at that game just yesterday. So we're recording today, Monday, just yesterday. But first, we'll kick off with the first team, their match against LAFC. The second matchup between these two sides on decision day, on fan appreciation night here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And Drew, LAFC, they would get things going a little bit kind of later in the first half. Zach with the big save against Bouanga, who's very shifty, very crafty, very dangerous.
Yeah, Zach had to make a couple big saves on the night, and against a player like Denny Bouanga, who does well to kind of wiggle in tight space there and get a shot off. Zach, sometimes it's all about positioning and makes himself big, and is a big save early in the first half there.
And then pushing a little bit later into the first half, Drew. Almost going into halftime, Heung-min Son dribbling at Maxu, takes a shot, fortunate deflection off Zach, and it goes in.
And this is what these two players wait for, Denny Bouanga and Heung-min Son. They found themselves a bit of open space. It was really the first time, all the way in the 41st minute on the night, that they had a lot of space to run into. And I actually think both Max Sue and Rob Holding do well there. It's just too much venom on the shot.
Even later in the first half, just in the dying moments of the first half, Drew Denny Bouanga with the cheeky look at goal, but Zach's up to it again.
And this was a massive save right before halftime. Zach, again, in the right spot at the right time, and even like a little quick reaction there. I'm not sure if that gets past him if he doesn't move his arm up, but huge right before halftime.
Second half, 61st minute here, Drew Lloris. He might have left Tottenham, but he's due for a Spursy moment. Paxton, though, to be fair, high press, earns the goal to tie things up for the Rapids.
That's right. Typical Arsenal fan there getting after the former Tottenham man. But yeah, to me, it's a mistake by Lloris, but just as much, it's good heads up, front-footed play by Paxton Aronson. We knew how they take goal kicks just like that, and Aronson sniffs this out, and this was a massive goal to tie the match up and give us life.
And then later in the second half here, 87th minute. What time is it, Drew?
It's a yappy hour.
There we go.
Yappy hour. What a finish. What a goal. A little combination between the two homegrowns, Oliver Larraz and Darren Yappy, who was a menace all night for LAFC's back line. And it's a goal poacher's goal, and it's a great finish on the diving header and gives us, at the moment, the 3 points that we need, depending on what's going on in the other matches.
Yes, so a lot of things kind of up in the air in the moment, even with the win that the Rapids were looking to get, but LAFC would respond, and they tie things up at 2 goals apiece.
Yeah, just a gut punch, because you kind of lose control of your own destiny in this moment, and I think right before the end of the match, we knew this, what the scores were in the Salt Lake and Dallas games, and that's the final whistle there. But Connor Cape and I were, we were looking at 3 different screens and trying to keep an eye on the actual game, and I actually almost kind of missed that final goal, and to look up and see it hitting the net, it was like that was kind of the nail in the coffin, and unfortunate time to give up a goal after just taking the lead, and a real gut punch there at the end of the match.
Real gut punch there, Drew. I'll get your thoughts just in general to begin with here, but first, let's go through the match stats on the night between the Rapids and LAFC. So the Rapids had 13 shots versus 17 for LAFC, 3 shots on goal for Colorado, 9 for LAFC, 6 corners for the Rapids, 5 for LAFC, 56.2% possession for the Colorado Rapids, and 43.8% for LAFC. So, Drew, you mentioned at the end of the night, it is a gut punch, but what did you make of the match overall between the two sides?
I thought the Rapids played really well on the night. It wasn't a fantastic first half stats-wise, but it didn't feel that way as the first half was actually going on. I thought defensively we did a really good job of getting numbers behind the ball and not allowing LAFC to break out too many times. Of course, Bouanga and Son, they do find a goal there right towards the end of the first half in transition, which is all they're pretty much looking to do. We didn't create a lot going forward, but we had a lot of the ball. It was kind of a defensive battle between both sides because LAFC, they do get back into a low block extremely well. They've got good, honest, hard workers. Defensively, they're a good side. And then in the second half, we did exactly what we had to do because we knew we had to come out and take the initiative. You see, the first goal by Paxton Aronson, that's taking the initiative. That's saying we need to go after it. We're going to go after it. And the Rapids showed what they're capable of doing. And then they get the goal to take the lead through Darren Yappy, and so we were pressing, we were on the front foot, put LAFC in some very uncomfortable situations, and then you get gut punched, entering stoppage time, and maybe a little bit of a microcosm of the season, but on the night, a match where we could have beaten one of the better sides in all of Major League Soccer with a duo like Bouanga and Son up front. I thought it was a good performance.
Yeah, overall, especially the first half, I remember, there wasn't too many goal-scoring opportunities or too many clean looks for the Rapids, but whether it was balls in between the lines from a Ted Cudi-Pietro who's who's very forward-thinking, very aggressive, winning balls in the midfield because LAFC felt was a little sloppy in possession, trying to play out of the back sometimes. You could see that the Rapids really did kind of impose themselves on the game. Yeah. Statistically, whether it's after the end of the first half or at the end of the game overall, that it didn't maybe entirely reflect that way, but that's one of those where the stats say one thing, but the game definitely said another if you were watching the match. But you kind of mentioned a little bit there, Drew, in terms of what this match being a microcosm of the season, where it's felt like missed opportunities, man. It's one of those, as you start going later in the season, you start looking at this result, that game, where it's we could have nabbed a point there. We could have gotten all 3 points there. That it unfortunately feels like that's what this season was, where there were so many opportunities for what you look at this roster. This is a good Rapid side. You look at the players and the quality on there. It's there. At the end of the day, it comes down to taking advantage of your opportunities when they present themselves. So get all 3 points, sneak away with a point if you have to in some environments, if you're on the road, trying to take advantage of 3 points here. I think that, unfortunately, that feels like it is the running thing for this season.
Yeah, I think so. And it just highlights, we've talked about since late August, early September, how everybody's playing for something at this point of the year. And every point becomes crucial. And that's not just at the end of August, September, and October. That's all the way back in March, April, May. You don't go into games thinking, oh, let's go into this match on the road and try to get a tie, or let's look at these 4 blocks of games and try to get 6 points from it, or 8 points, whatever it is. You go into every single match trying to get all 3 points every single time. And you have to break the season down one game at a time. And I get it. Like, everybody kind of looks at it differently. But if you get, and Mike, we can probably highlight a couple of these games. If you get one more point from any of these matches, it's a different tune. It's a different tune this morning. And so it highlights how important every single match is over the course of a 34 game season. And really, I think, with it kind of being a microcosm of our season, like, we kind of started to lose grip of our own destiny, our own playoff destiny a few games back. And that's when you start relying on other teams, wanting to get points here or beat teams there. That's what it kind of felt like when we conceded against LAFC. It was like, we just lost control of our own, and it's that I left the stadium like kind of sad. You always walk away from the stadium disappointed if you don't get all 3 points at home. But I was kind of sad because it was just like, man, what could have been a little bit,
Yeah. Same sentiment, Drew. Like,
Yeah.
because it meant the end of the season. That's it.
Of course.
It's a long off season, as you mentioned at the top of the show. That's something nobody wants to do. Whether you're a player, coaching staff, front office, whoever at the club, like, you don't want to be dealing with the long off season. Like, you want to be in the thick of it, in the playoffs, fighting for MLS Cup at the end of the day. Like, that's why you're a part of this, is to fight for MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that won't be the case this season. But you look at some of these results. If we wanted to quickly just go through them, Drew, and like you said, it's just, we could have used just one more point.
Yeah.
Right. But you look at some of these results. We're back to April 19th, the 2-2 draw, where they get at almost the last play of the game or close to it. I can remember the DP's name, the forward that they got, Linger.
Yeah.
He got the header laid on, and that meant a 2-2 draw. And they were able to sneak away with a point as opposed to getting all 3 points on the road. May 3rd, the 2-1 loss to DC. DC is ending to, they were just a struggling side outrightly, but they were able to get the result, all 3 points at home, a place that you figured the Rapids could have taken advantage. Yep. June 28th, I was on that trip at New England, where the Rapids looked very comfortable at the 3-0 lead, but New England pushed all the way through until they managed to get the 3-3 draw. The 2 losses versus SKC, excuse me, here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, and then going later in the season out to Children's Mercy Park. Yeah. Then the losses at Dallas and RSL. It's one, again, like I mentioned, it's one of those, like, as you move late into the season, you start looking through the calendar, picking out some of these games. It's like, we could have gotten this here and this there, and but it's like you said, Drew, like, as cliche as it is, but it is so true that, like, you've done it for so many years in this league. You have to go game by game, because if you focus too much in the future or look too far in the past, you lose sight of what you need to focus on, which is like the upcoming game on the weekend. And that's where results sometimes maybe can get away from. Not to say that that's what's happening to the Rapids, right? Because best believe, like, they were tuned into what's coming up next.
For sure.
Whether it's the game in the moment or if the game they have coming up when they're training during the week, their focus was there. At the end of the day, sometimes, like, the performances don't come out, things don't come out, the ball bounces the wrong way, like, things play out in such a way sometimes, right? And unfortunately, the Rapids are on the wrong side of it this time around, and are not in the playoffs this season. So, listen, it's a long off season. We're gonna have to all endure. Like, it's not fun. The players will be the first to tell you. The coaching staff will be the first to tell you. But it is what it is. And just looking ahead to 2026, getting ready for that, because before we know, preseason's going to hit, and we're moving and grooving, and hopefully fighting straight for MLS Cup next year. That's the goal.
Of course, there were some good moments this season too that we're going to talk about a little bit. Sure. And so, as frustrating, I think, as we all are, there was some fun things that happened here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, as well as on the road. This was a great team, for me personally. A great group to be around on the training field every day, in the locker room, on some of the away trips. That provided some great moments that were really, really fun to be a part of. And I think that's why it was extra kind of disappointing walking out of the stadium on Saturday night. Have to put a bow on it. Unfortunately, it's difficult to move on because you start battling in January, early January. You start battling with these guys, But yeah, let's put a bow on it and get over to Rapids 2 if we can.
Yeah, I'm with you, Drew. Let's move on to Rapids 2, where obviously that's another team that you're involved with. Like throughout the year, you're there every day at training with them, with Eric Boucher, the coaching staff with Rapids 2, and the players there. They were able to get a win in their first playoff match in 2025, beating Vancouver Whitecaps 2. Looking through how that all went down. So in the 7th minute, Anthony Garcia got a goal to open the scoring, but then Vancouver Whitecaps, they came back and scored to make it 1-1. Mark O'Neill, who happens to be the brother of Shane O'Neill, a former Rapid that you played with back in the day, that made it 1-1, and then 2 goals from the Rapids to kind of go ahead and take a more comfortable lead with Alex Harris in the 72nd minute, Sam Bassett in the 86th minute. But Vancouver wanted to make it interesting. Guess who was the goal scorer? Mark O'Neill. He got a second, but of course that wasn't enough for them to be able to keep their playoff hopes alive. So that means that the Rapids will move on to the Rapids 2, will move on to the conference semifinals. So literally as we're recording, I think is where they're going to find out who they're going to play. So unfortunately we cannot provide that information to you, at least through here, but obviously we'll be putting that in our social channels, between First Team and our Rapids 2 social accounts. So you guys will be able to find out nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, you're like, between training and obviously you being at the game yesterday, Drew, since you're coaching as well on the bench with that team, what did you see from the match? What did you make of it? Your thoughts? How excited are you and the group to be able to get that result?
Really excited to get the result because the playoffs, especially the first playoff game, it's always difficult. What are you expecting from the team? What are you expecting from your opponent? What kind of form did you finish the regular season with? And they were tested yesterday. They were tested on Sunday after a great start from Anthony Garcia, a fantastic goal from him. But Vancouver battled, man, and they play with 3 center backs and wing backs and a very expansive style. There was some ebbs and flows to this game that the young squad had to kind of manage, and I thought they did a fantastic job. Eric Boucher came in at halftime and it was very tactics based, but right at the end, he got into him a little bit, and he said, "This is a game where we need to put them in a little bit of a faster pace. It's a bit too passive right now." And so I was very curious to see how they respond coming out in the second half, and it was a fantastic response. And it took a little while. You can see Alex Harris, he doesn't get the the go ahead goal to make it 2-1 until the 72nd minute, right? But it was. We were very organized defensively. Once we, kind of picked the pace up and up the tempo a little bit, I think we showed Vancouver and we showed ourselves a little bit, okay, like we can go and beat this team. And then Sam Bassett gets the third, and Vancouver did score kind of late to make things a little bit stressful at the end. But I thought, especially in, playoffs, it's a little bit survive and advance. I don't think we just survived. We were the better team on the day, certainly, but we are advancing, and I think we proved ourselves we can even probably be better than maybe we felt like we could before the match started overall.
Yeah, I mean, even if you have to kind of feel like you have to survive, that's the playoffs, Drew.
It is.
There's moments where you just have to grind and suffer and survive. And at the end of the day, like they did, between that and showing their quality on the day, Rapids 2 is moving on. They're the ones that got the result, found a way to do it. They're moving on to the conference semifinals. Like we said, we'll find out their opponent literally as we're recording this podcast, but we'll have that information out to you guys through our social channels between the Rapids first team and of course Rapids 2 as well.
They will have to travel. It will be on the road because
and that's another test in itself.
It is,
just having to go on the road, let alone doing so in playoffs. So the Rapids 2 has their work cut out for them, but this is playoffs, man. Anything can happen.
They had the best record, I believe, on the road, or tied for the best record on the road in all of MLS Next Pro this season. I believe they were 8-3-3 on the road, and so they have a lot of confidence whether they go to St. Louis or the Town. I believe are the two, the Town being Earthquakes in the Bay Area there. They have a lot of confidence going on the road. And
there's something to be said about that, man.
It is.
Like personally what it's like. You go on the road, it's abysmal sometimes. Like you don't want to be dealing with the environment and then some of the factors that play into like being on the road, whether it's first team or it's with the second team in MLS Next Pro. So credit to Rapids too. Hopefully they can carry that road form into playoffs. And we saw it in 23 where they were very close to getting to winning, to making it all the way. But maybe this time around, maybe they can pull it off. So especially under the direction of Eric Boucher, all the staff you included.
Yeah, and exactly.
Fun, man.
It means I get to be on the training field for this week, which I'm looking forward to, because they'll be training all week preparing for their match at the weekend. So I at least get to get the boots on this week and try to do as much as I can to get them ready for the match on the
Putting
weekend.
Drew more to work this time around.
Because I usually don't.
Congratulations to Rapids, to Eric Boucher and all the staff. Drew, you're obviously a part of that. Congratulations to you and be able to accomplish this with Rapids too, and to move on to the conference semifinals in MLS Next Pro. Hopefully they're going all the way.
Yep.
Hopefully they're going all the way. Let's move on to the season recap for moving back to the first team.
Yeah, we didn't really put a bow on it, did we?
Not entirely, but like I think some things that we wanted to point out in terms of because like obviously we mentioned our disappointment with like the season ending, some missed opportunities kind of being the running theme, but that doesn't mean that there weren't good things that happened or players that aren't worth recognizing some of the things they accomplished this season, right? So let's start with kind of like our category, or what we consider to be most valuable player amongst the first team. I'm gonna kick it off with my pick for Rafa Navarro, who on the season had 12 goals and 5 assists. Obviously our DP9, this is like the reference point, one of the reference points in the team naturally with what he does. And it's not just the statistically, I've said it over and over and over and over again, talking about Rafa in terms of, it's not just that, what he does statistically, but it's just all the running that he does for this team, man. Whether it's like the high press, he's the first line, he sets that first line of confrontation up top to try to apply that pressure to the other team and put them on their heels and really just kind of put them in a bad spot. Whether it's the goal scoring, whether it's he checks back and tries to help out, provide numbers in midfield sometimes if he feels he needs to do that, right? Getting beaten up by center backs for the sake of the team, right? Because how many times have we seen that before? But he suffered. He truly does suffer for the team, right? For me, Rafa, he was recognized at Burgundy Affair last night with quite a few awards, rightly so,
deservedly so. Yeah.
For me, Rafa, man, like I've sung his praises over and over again, but I feel like I've merited in doing so because of everything he does for this club, man. Everything.
Rafa is the Little League baseball kid that just like throws a bunch of dirt all over his uniform, and at the end of the game, it's like, dude, what happened to you? But he doesn't throw it. He earns all the marks, and like he's got a injured wrist, like dislocates a finger in this match. Like,
that's Rafa, man.
He's a gladiator. He's an absolute gladiator, and he puts the ball in the back of the net. He did 15 times this season? Was it 15? I think they said.
Maybe.
Yeah. But you're right, Mike. Like this guy, you can't take him off the field because of everything that he does on both sides of the ball, and absolutely love watching him. To play against a number 9 like that I would have had nightmares, because he is just a constant thorn in everybody's side. Getting on the end of crosses, just a menace in the 18-yard box, but defensively just doing everything that you want a number 9 to do. It's so impressive. And speaking of defensively, we'll talk about my most valuable player. I'm going with the man in goal, Zach Steffen. Just the amount of times he stepped up in big moments and made huge saves. He still is one of the best just reaction goalkeepers I think in the league. He relies on his instincts, and he kept us in so many games, right? In big moments, like right at the end of halves or right at the end of games, he just comes up with this fantastic save, and it's like, okay, like we need that, like we needed that in this moment, especially when we play with the open, being on the front foot. You need a goalkeeper that's confident and always ready and locked in. And I think his distribution flies under the radar a little bit as well. And kind of like the intangibles that you get with Rafa Navarro, with Zach Steffen, man, you get a leader in that locker room that everybody looks at, that everybody listens to, that everybody knows exactly what you're going to get from that guy. He's going to take care of his business, and he's going to make sure that he sends that message out to everybody else to make sure they're taking care of their business. He's a real joy to be around, is Zach Steffen.
Yeah, statistically speaking for Zach, 23 games played. Obviously, he had some injuries that kind of did bother him throughout the year. Thankfully, not as long as we initially could have thought might have taken place. So Could have played more games, obviously, but injuries kind of like inhibited him from playing more games than he would have liked. 4 clean sheets on the season, 100 saves, which is 72.5% rate with all the shots that he received throughout the 2025 season. So yeah, that's a almost like kind of obvious shout, but like I think it's worth recognizing because whether it's the stats, whether it's his presence, some of the intangibles that he provides to this group, it's worth mentioning and talking about because you have to acknowledge it for what it is. It's Zach Steffen doing what he does. So moving on to our next category of breakout player for this season. I'll kick it off again. My pick is going to be Darren Yappy, man. Yappy hour.
Yep.
I just think back to 2023, man, which was a difficult year, and he was in a spot as a young striker who's looking to try to get off the mark. And Chris has cited this multiple times of conversations he's had with him where he almost feels like he's reaching a breaking point because he feels like he's not doing his part in terms of just outrightly scoring goals for the club. But I think that speaks to Yappy in terms of like how hard he works, how much he cares, how much this means to him, not just for him, but just for the club as well. He's a homegrown of this club as well. So it means a lot to him to be able to try to be someone who's able to contribute to this club. So I think back to then 2024, last season, when he gets that goal against St. Louis to kind of finish off the blowout against them as the 4-1 win. And the way everybody celebrated for him and the relief you could see from him, right? Then you fast forward from that moment where he just picked it up from there on out. As soon as that happened, he picked it up from there. 2025, I think he broke out even more, I would say, Drew, after getting that goal last year against St. Louis. So for 2025, Darren Yappy had 8 goals, 2 assists, 17 starts, all career highs for him. And quite frankly, I would only expect that to go increase even more in terms of his goal rate, his assist rate, being involved in more games as well. He's shown it, man. Like for me, it's not exactly to the same level as Hafa, but it's Hafa-esque in terms of what he does on and off the ball. He does so much for the team. And again, at such a young age, 2021, the fact that he's doing it at that age and the way he's doing it is so impressive, man. Like it's been a joy to see Yappy ever since he joined the club in 2021 for signing his first team contract, see his growth and development all the way up into what he's doing today. You take a lot of pride in seeing something like that happen and just watch them grow and develop into what they are today. So for me, Darren Yappy has been a breakout player for this year.
Yeah, I like that shout. I think Darren's somebody that we've had our eyes on since he was 15 years old and went into preseason with us in 2020, my first preseason back with the team when I was still playing. Shows how long ago that was. But the way that he has put everything kind of together, because he's had to learn a lot. And he started at a very young age, right? I was impressed almost every single time that he was on the field this season, just with the little details that I've talked about with him a lot, and I think a lot of people have talked about with him. We know that the athleticism, the talent, the physical abilities are there, but he's starting to kind of put it all together. His hold-up play was extremely good. His play in tight spaces, getting his feet sorted out. His decision making was extremely good, and he scored 8 goals, eight goals in 17 starts. Right, he only started half the games. If say he has 24, 25 starts, does he score 10, 11, 12 goals?
Yeah.
Maybe so, and so I was just so impressed with his season just overall as a whole. Every time he was on the field, it seemed like he was making positive things happen and really focusing on those little details. And I think this guy continues to be the limit with Darren Yappy. This season just reminded us of the talent that this young man is, and excited to see him continue to make strides moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just excited to see where this goes, man. Because again, he's young. He's still so young. Like 2021, at that age, I was in college trying to figure out my life, dude. He's out here scoring goals for his hometown club and making a difference, right?
Yeah.
Keep in mind that he's still so young and has still so much room to grow. And
he does.
Already has 8 goals in 2025. Sky's the limit, man.
Sky is the limit.
Sky's the limit. You had another pick on your part. Again, going defensively for breakout player of the year.
Yeah, because my MVP was Zach Steffen. He missed some time, if everybody remembers, kind of earlier in the year. And when you miss somebody like that, it's like who's going to step in, especially at the goalkeeper position. And it was Nico Hansen.
Yeah, man.
And maybe we forget a little bit because of it was earlier in the season, right? but how good he was, how massive Nico Hansen stepped in. And, he wasn't even really, it was supposed to be Adam Beaudry after Zach Steffen. He had some knocks as well. And Nico Hansen stepped in and was fantastic. He played 10 games, 3 clean sheets, 38 saves. It was those things, but it was also the confidence that he has himself personally, and that he, exuded to everybody else around him, to, the defenders and really the entire squad, because of how hard he works in training, because of the voice that he is in training. Man, we didn't really know what to expect when he stepped in goal for Zach Steffen, and we got a goalkeeper that it was just like, okay, like, we don't really skip a beat when this guy is in goal. His distribution is really, really good as well. He can hit a nice diagonal ball and create some counterattacking opportunities. Great shot stopper. Again, and I always like to, talk about good people and good human beings. It's not to take away from how good they are on the field, but he's a fantastic person, that one of the first to training every day, one of the last to leave. He was my breakout player, Nico Hansen. He filled in so admirably well. Yeah,
you had mentioned it with Zach in terms of sometimes you need your goalkeeper to step up in certain moments, and that could change the course of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Nico had quite a few of those saves in some of those games that he didn't feature because, there was an elevated episode that one of our producers worked on, and he was with Nico, and Nico had mentioned that he had like an honest conversation with Sharpie. He's like, listen, you're coming in, and this is gonna be your role going into the team this season.
Mm-hmm.
And Nico understood it. Like, it's like, if I'm going to earn my spot, like you have to compete with your Zach Steffens, your Adam Beaudrys. That's, I have to earn my spot. And when the opportunity presented itself with both Zach and Adam being hurt at the time, and then Nico steps up, I can't remember what the first game was that he did step in. But from there on out, dude, it was just like, wow. Like, it felt like we really didn't skip a beat at all in the goalkeeping position. Because, when you're missing someone like Zach and when you don't have someone like Adam available, and it's like Nico, we had seen too much from Nico, or had at least in a game setting, like, right? And then he steps up and does what he does. It's like, wow, man, like that is impressive. And a huge credit to him, because I think I'd imagine mentally it can be very easy to kind of resign yourself to that third goalkeeper position, if you want to call it that. But then to step up the way he did, exude the confidence that he did, have the performances that he did, instill the confidence into the rest of the group as well, as you mentioned, with his performances. Like, give him his flowers, man. Like,
for sure.
He was an incredible feature, and all the respect to Nico for everything that he's done, and then of course, like, I would expect nothing less because of what he did this season. If something like that comes up, or if you put him as a starter, who knows? You never know, man.
Yep.
In professional sports, anything can happen at any given point. So Nico was phenomenal in the moments that we needed him.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Couple more categories in terms of our season recap here that we wanted to go into. So favorite moment. We'll go into that for your favorite moment of 2025. So we had a few. One that kind of stuck out to me. I was on this trip when we went to the San Jose Earthquakes earlier in the season. It was March 15th that we were there. Bruce Arena and crew, Chicharango, Joseph Martinez, Christian Espit, like some big hitters there in San Jose. So it's like it was everything to play for there. Like, the work was cut out for the Rapids. Zach Steffen was like, nah, dude, like that it's not happening.
This is my house.
12 saves on the night. Like, Zach basically stood on his head on the night, and as you mentioned, again, like you mentioned, like sometimes you need your keeper to step up big time. He stepped up tremendously in that game. What ended up being, I think, a 2-1 win for the Rapids on the night, getting a huge important win on the road. As we know, we talked about ad nauseum. It's difficult to get any sort of results on the road, especially when you're up against the likes of who we mentioned, Joseph Martinez, Chicho Arango, Christian Espinosa. Like, the list goes on with some of the attacking power that they have there. So that was wild to see in person. Like, I'm filming and recording, like, filming during the game itself, so it's kind of hard to fully pay attention to the game itself. But as like the moments I was able to notice some of those saves Zach was making, I was like, dude, this is next level.
Yeah,
like, this is wild.
Yeah, it wasn't just like 12 like routine saves. It was like
there were some ridiculous saves. Yeah,
unbelievable saves.
Yeah,
which he's capable of.
That's Zach Steffen for you, man.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with my one of my favorite moments of 2025 was the 2-1 home win against Houston. Just what was it? Less than a month ago. Just the energy, the atmosphere, what that match meant, right? Paxton Aronson, I don't think, did he end up being credited with the goal? No, he didn't. Okay, I'm seeing a bunch of head shaking back there. But he created the goal. He's the one that got across on the corner kick, the near post, and the crowd went absolutely crazy after Cole Bassett had scored the free kick in the first half to give us the lead. But that was a match where it was like, okay, we need to press, we need to win this game, we need to continue to control our own playoff destiny here, and the Rapids did that against a feisty, difficult Houston side. I remember going into that game, we were like, this team is in every single match. They're difficult to break down. They play like their head coach Ben Olsen, who just he's gonna grind, he's gonna work, he's gonna tear your heart out. And the Rapids stood up tall and were brave and were confident and did what they had to do in a home match, in a big moment. And, for me, it was like, let's push on from this. Let's this seems like just kind of a 2-1 victory against a team that was below you in the standings. No, this was a good confidence boost going into a playoff push that we ultimately fell short on. But that was a fun match to be a part of, a fun match to call on the radio. And anytime you score late at home, when the anticipation is building, we had a couple corner kicks. It was like they were blocking a bunch of shots and stuff. There were some scrambles in the box. And the way the ball kind of went, and it was kind of like, really? But it was like, no, like we earned this own goal, and yeah, that was a fun match for me.
Yeah, it was very fun. Yeah, I remember that where it felt kind of storybookish. We're like, we're pushing for that result at the end, pushing for the goal to try to get the win because we needed it to try to improve our playoff hopes at the time. And I remember just like, it's one of those, Drew, where like you kind of feel it in the air. You can't explain it.
Yeah.
You can't. There's no way to explain it really. Like you just feel it. Like there's something there that says, I think we're gonna get it. And like there's something there that says maybe we're gonna go for it. And the guys kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then the corner kick happens. Connor Ronan hits it in, and then Paxton, Maxu, like the guys who were just in there, just forcing coincidences, as we talk about, as the coaching staff likes to talk about. They were just in there and just found a way to do it, man. Yeah. All that mattered is that it went in, and it was. And I just remember the roar.
I bet
it was almost deafening,
yeah.
like how loud the crowd was celebrating that goal. Like that was like I remember just something kind of coming down over me, and I was like, wow, this is a moment. Like this is incredible. So that was I would have to pick that as a very favorite moment of mine from the season because just the context of things, just how everything was playing out in the moment. So yeah, that was definitely one heck of a moment for the Rapids in 2025. Now we'll move on to our last category here for our season recap, a player to watch or breakout player for potentially 2026, Drew. So we have 3, I think, that we were keeping an eye out on. If you want to start
talk about all 3 of them, yeah.
So who do you have an eye on?
I'll start with Alexis Manyoma, who we didn't get to see a lot of, unfortunately, but I think what he showed on decision day against LAFC was impressive. This guy came on and kind of took this game over, and we saw glimpses of it in training, and it's not easy to come in those moments from a different league. He was one of the last of the summer transfer window players to kind of join and to get integrated in, right? You could see glimpses in training, and even the first appearance he had about a month ago. You saw glimpses of how he can kind of wiggle through things and really good in tight spaces. But what he showed against LAFC, he came in and was a big part of that push to before Darren Yappi's goal. I'm really excited to see him get a full preseason with the Rapids starting in 2026. Sorry, I got a little voice crack there.
All good. I won't judge you for it.
That's okay. But he's a confident player. He's a quiet player, but he's a confident player, and was very impressed with what he did in his minutes against LAFC there.
Yeah, man. You mentioned it. I always like to make a point of this because I think it serves as a nice reminder. Is like it is difficult when you move to a different country, a different league, especially when the league is very physical and you're not used to that.
Yeah.
Like that's like keep in mind like any human being it would affect if you're moving to a different country where you maybe don't know the language and have to get used to all these different things, all these little nuances of the country and where you're at. Yes, in professional sports you're expected to perform, right? But like you still have to be able to appreciate the fact this is a human being who's like shifting their life to a completely different place that they've never been to or not entirely aware of. So for Alexis to kind of come in, really do his darnest, like to really settle in, we saw it, right? You spoke to the game that we just had here on Saturday against LAFC. You saw what he's capable of, right? But that it wasn't easy. I can't imagine it was easy for him, because that's a lot of work for him to be able to reach that point.
Of course.
For ever since he got here, to then reach that point and say, all right, like I'm going to show what I'm really about. Have the opportunity to do so once he feels a little more settled in. So I just wanted to kind of make exception with that, because I think that's something that sometimes can get forgotten. But it's worth noting that these are human beings at the end of the day as well. Like, it's difficult to do. Even, yes, they're expected to perform and do this and that, but there's things on the personal side, obviously on the professional side, they have to be mindful of and tend to make sure that they, at the end of the day, they can perform here, right? Yep. But yeah, so credit to Alexis Magnola, who he really stood out big time against LAFC, and I would expect to stick out in 2026 for the time that he's here. I'll go ahead here and pick out one of the players that the three that we're going to mention here. I'm going to pick out Paxton. Obviously, like, the DP that we brought in the summer transfer window. I was very excited to hear that we were bringing in somebody like that with his ability, not just on the ball, off the ball, the way he can kind of do the high press, the counter press if we're looking to regain possession, how quick he is, how nimble he is even in tight spaces. He can find the sneak passes here and there. I mean, we were huge fans of him from the get-go. Like, when even just from hearing him when he was going to come to the club, let alone once we actually saw him playing, it was like, dude, like, yeah, this guy's got it. Like,
yeah,
he's totally got it. So Paxton this year, he had 7 games, 6 starts, had 1 goal, obviously the one where he caught Hugo Lloris having a Spursy moment. And so, but like, and it goes back to the point I was making earlier in terms of like trying to assimilate and settle in and try to have an impact from the get-go, right? Even though you bring in Paxton as your deep, it's hard, man. Like, it's especially when the Rapids are in the midst of a playoff push, trying to find their way into the playoffs, and you're coming in from Germany at that point. So he's coming over from Eintracht Frankfurt, and just shifting his life all the way over to the Colorado for coming over from Germany, right? Like that I can't imagine how difficult that is. But you can at least appreciate the fact that there's a lot that goes into that. But credit to Paxton for having even the impact that he did in such a short amount of time. And that's where I'm already looking forward to next season once he has a full preseason behind him, really settle in with the group and really get to know everybody, or feel much more settled here in Colorado at the club. And I would say have an even greater impact, which is kind of scary to think because of the things we saw from him in the short amount of time in 2025.
Yeah, I think everybody expects him to be a massive part of this side next season, and he showed us in the 7 games how important he is and what he's capable of, and he just you can stand next to somebody on the training field, or on the match field and just see they've got a little something different than everybody else, and he's one of those guys. His ability in tight spaces and his dribbling abilities and the way he can get defenders going the wrong way. He's got a quick release on his shot. He just sees the game different than a lot of people on the field, and he really commits to it. Like he's not just a luxury player that's out there just trying to do good things when he's on the ball. Now he works both sides of the ball extremely well. He tries to find difficult positions to take up for the other team, for the opposing team, to keep track of them. He's constantly thinking, he's constantly grinding, and he can do some special things on the ball. And I'm really looking forward to him getting again a full preseason with the squad here coming up this next season and seeing what he can do.
That makes 2 of us, Drew.
Yeah.
All right. Close us out with a player to watch or breakout player for 2026, Drew.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lucas Harrington, who we didn't see this season, but we we will in preseason. The Australian center back, he's 6'4", and he was here a couple times. I
was doing this number when I looked
they just don't make them like if I was 6'4", man, golly, I would have maybe played a couple more games. But the club is really excited about Lucas Harrington and his athleticism, and he's young, big, strong, just has the look and feel of a player that can dominate and really command the back line, and we don't know a whole lot about him, of course, because he is young and because he's been in Australia, and we've only really I've only just introduced myself to him. But you look at his physical makeup, he's been on the national team radar for Australia, all the youth national teams and stuff. I'm really excited to see him in January in the cold here, but for preseason and see what he can do.
Yeah. Very young, obviously.
Yep.
Very young. So I think there needs to be that runway for him to be able to develop. Like we said, it's to come from a different part of the world.
Yep.
Come here to the United States, MLS specifically, concerning how physical this league is. There is always going to be an adaptation period, especially for such a young man like that, who's only going to be 18 once he comes into the fold. So, but doesn't change the fact that we're excited to see where that development is going to go and where it can take him, and hopefully at some point or another that we'll see him making an impact here at the Colorado Rapids. So those are a few players there that we picked out that we'll be keeping an eye out for 2026, and so should you, to our viewers and listeners. Drew, that's going to do it, huh?
No.
That was how many episodes? 35?
35
episodes? Yeah, getting the head nod from both our producers. 35 episodes. That's how much you've tolerated me for this season.
Dude, don't even try that. You've tolerated me. We finally...
You said it, I didn't.
I said a dad joke about 30 seconds before we went live, and I think Rich, our producer back there...
He booed you.
He booed me, and he let out a sigh as if like he couldn't wait until I walk out that door for the final episode of this season. But I plan on being back next season, Rich, all right? I hope you... he got a thumbs up. Okay.
Dad jokes coming in 2026.
Yeah, don't y'all worry about it. Don't y'all worry about it.
Listen, man. Yeah, like it's a long season. It's a long and grueling season. Whether you win MLS Cup, don't make the MLS season is demanding.
It's a grind.
Long,
yeah,
it's a grind. But it's fun at the end of the day. Like there's different things we could be doing. I'm very fortunate to be sat here with the Rapids legend on a weekly basis.
Thank you.
That to do this, man. Like this is just fun that we get to talk soccer. Talk Rapid soccer specifically, enjoy the moments, kind of sulk into some of the bad ones, but appreciate the good ones when they come around. And to all the folks who would come up to us and message us and on game days or whenever, like who come up to say, hey, like guys, we love listening to or watching the podcast. If it's Josh Atencio's family, who I saw not too long ago, other fans along the way, like it's very much appreciated when we hear and see all that sort of commentary from our viewers and listeners, and the plan is just to keep improving, man.
Yeah,
and it's just to continue to have fun. Well, I'll say that 10 times faster. I'm an end of season form at this point.
No,
continue to have fun with it. Like I think that's the most important thing, and of course have you guys along the ride for what is a Colorado Rapids season, and again, hopefully we're talking about MLS Cup next year, man. That's the goal. Of course.
And credit to you, mi hermano, for putting up with me. And for doing the actual like work and hard part of this podcast, because I've got the easy part where I just sit here and spout nonsense. You actually have to like prepare and know the order that we're doing things and what page numbers we're on and
paper.
Stuff.
That's more thanks to our producers.
Yeah, like we usually go out of order anyway, but Miles. Yeah, of course. But no, it was a lot of fun. I look forward to every Monday morning sitting next to you and talking shop, talking Rapids, and how stylish you are and how good looking you are. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do it again next season.
I'm waiting for sponsors on the ringer. After this, I got
Banana Republic.
I got the endorsement from a Rapids legend, so I'm waiting for sponsors to be on the ringer there and then hit me up this off season. Anyways, that'll do it. I think
Rich is giving us the wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap up and let's get out of here. Listen, everybody, it's been a fun ride. Despite how the season went, it's been a fun ride. Seriously, when I'm here alongside every week with our Rapids legend and my good friend Drew Moore, our huge, tremendous thanks for those of you who were at the Larry Lodge podcast. You guys got to see them, but our both of our producers, producer Rich, producer Miles, who do basically everything to make sure this all looks and sounds good. The fact that you guys can listen to or watch a podcast is thanks to them. And for me, it's just a joy to just be a part of this ride, man. So that's going to do it for this, really just the podcast for 2025, the Colorado Rapids podcast in 2025, which has been presented to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. But of course, make sure you guys don't miss out on our good friend Jordan Angeli. Yep. She's still going to be around with, I think, a couple more. We'll see where we sit in terms of the number, but there's still some episodes of the conversation to be had with our good friend Jordan Angeli. So make sure you're tuned in to Rapids channel so you're able to listen to that. That's going to do it. That's going to do it for 2025. My thanks to I'm trying to close out the show and I'm getting laughs from behind the cameras, but my thanks to producer Rich and producer Miles, like I said, who make everything basically happen for this podcast. Of course, my good friend and resident Rapids legend, Drew Moore. I've been your host, Mike Ravolo, throughout 2025. Thank you times 1,000. Thank you to every viewer and listener of the podcast, and we will see you guys next season.